and I will be taking you, and I'll be taking you through this course in a couple over the next couple of hours or thereabout. Okay, and if we may start, um, is there anyone on this call that has not heard anything around health and safety before now? Please, you can just indicate in the chat box if this is your first time of, hearing about health and safety in the workplace. So I give us maybe another 10 seconds. If the word health and safety is strange to you, or you're hearing that for the first time, you can just type hi in the chat box. Maybe. Okay, so it seems that everyone is actually familiar with this word. Okay, so health and safety is not strange to us. At a minimum, we'll have seen that maybe on social media or thereabout, or you have heard someone talk about health and safety, or you have actually heard something around accidents, or you've witnessed, or accidents either in the workplace or in the public space. Some of us might have even been arrested or delayed for whatever reasons by the Federal Safety Commission officials. So safety is a word that is commonly used by everyone and anyone. But in this class, we will try and understand what health and safety really is, and we try and see how we can pin that to the workplace, and also see how that affects us as facility managers. Okay. In another 1 minute, please, can we go to the chat box and in one sentence not too long, in one sentence we can maybe type in our expectation. So what do you expect at the end of this class? What are your expectations? So can you please, someone I should introduce myself? Okay. Okay, so my name is Kolako Bolade. I'm a current registered engineer, mechanical. I left uni about 13 years ago now. This September. Yeah, so I left uni September 2008. So that was about 13 years ago. I've actually worked in about 5 industries in health, safety, environment, and sustainability roles. So I was with Wando Marketing PLC. That's the downstream of Wando in Apapa. I left Wando to work for Schneider Electric in 2013 as the HSE supervisor for major projects. I left Schneider to work for CAC Helicopters in Port Harcourt. So I joined Atlantic Aviation Helicopters, and I was there for about 2 years. And I left to work for MBC, Nigeria Bottling Company, as safety manager, 2016 to 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I left MBC to take up a role as quality and HSE manager for a renewable energy company here in Lagos. I was there for 2 years too, before I decided to go into the Big Four. So I work as manager of sustainability and climate change right now in one of the Big Fours here in Nigeria. And over the past 16 months now, we've been trying to push impact assessment, health and safety, ESG as a whole, sustainability, the net zero strategy, so that's low carbonization or decarbonization. Or again, things around result verification and all of that. In terms of qualification, I have a degree in mechanical engineering. I also have a master's degree in administration. I'm presently running under MSc at Unilag. I'm a current registered engineer, I've told you. I'm a registered environmental practitioner in Nigeria and in the UK. I have 4 NEBOSH certificates, so construction, fire, IGC, and oil and gas, of course. Of course, I also have a lot of other certificates. Out there. I'm a Six Sigma parameter software, 45,001. So initially I also hold 18,001, but it has gone redundant. So I've dropped that. Again, I'm a certified maintenance and reliability professional in CMRP. And a lot of things I've done a lot of, but I don't come to trainings to start introducing myself and with my qualifications. No, I just want us to face the class and try and pick what we need to pick out of this class. I belong to about 10 international organizations. So when I say international, I mean top organizations in health and safety, facility management, and in engineering. So I'm a member of course, I'm a member of Nigeria Society of Engineers. I'm also a member of the Institution of Engineering and Technology in the UK. I'm a member of AIMA, that Institute of Environmental Management and Assessment in the UK, and that's the Society for the Environment in the UK. What I need to tell you again, let's just keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. I'm trying to even remember all my qualifications. Okay, so I'm a certified grade member of IWFM, that's the Institute of Workplace and Facility Management in the UK, formerly the British Institute of Facility Management. So I'm a certified grade member, which is I think second to the highest grade for facility managers in the UK. So a lot of things. So in terms of experience, so I've done consulting, I've done in industrial safety. So I have post NYSC, I have over 11 years work experience post NYSC. But even when I was serving, I was actually working. I was with the windows, I was actually working when I was serving, but that's fine. Okay, so just relax. You can ask all the questions you want to ask, or things you need to know about health and safety by the grace of God. I think your questions would be answered. If I can't answer your question, and I'll then have to come back to you through either Baraka or WHSE, through your WhatsApp group. But I hope and sincerely trust that the class will be productive. So relax, try and listen, grab your pen and your notepad as we go along. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so we'll be looking at health and safety at work. We'll be explaining what that means to you. We'll be explaining how your work can actually affect your health, safety, and of course, the pollution and emission path of the workplace. We're looking at the cost of accidents and illness at work. So the cost to you as an employee, the cost to your employers, the cost to your loved ones, and of course the cost to the public or the government. Okay, we're also going to see how we can, eliminate hazard and reduce the risks. So we'll be looking at the probability and severity matrix and see if we can reduce one harm. So we can reduce either the probability of an incident occurring or the severity of the incident when it occurs. Okay, so we look at specific controls around some major hazard. I need to say at this point that this class is occupational health and safety and not a process safety class. So because I just said that now because when I say major hazard, the major hazard in a process facility is way different from what happens in a normal work environment. So you're not going to be seeing things like fire and explosion, which is a common practice in the oil and gas and what have you. So they will then see how we can implement health and safety standards in the workplace, and how you can either manage your waste, recycle, reduce, how you can, ensure you reuse, things that you need to do to manage solid and plastic waste, especially in your workplace. Next, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So occupational health does not or is not restricted to absence of injury or disease. Yeah, so the WHO defined health as a state of complete physical, mental, and underline this, social well-being. So basically, you are complete. Mentally, you are balanced. And in terms of well-being, in terms of interaction with other people, in terms of stability of mind, you are well and sound, and not just the absence of disease, injuries, or sickness or infirmities. What we're saying now is that before we can say someone is healthy, before we can say, yes, that person has good health, it goes beyond seeing someone that has no physical defect. It goes beyond seeing someone that is not mad, that is mentally stable. It goes beyond seeing someone that doesn't have any visible injury. We're saying that that person should be physically complete. So no broken fingers, no broken legs, no bruises. Everything seems to be perfect. Then state of mind, which is the mental health. We don't want to have someone that can just wake up, grab the gun, and shoot at his boss or shoot at anyone. We don't want to have someone that keeps knife in his pocket and can cause physical injury or assault on his colleague or a colleague at work. We don't want someone that has mental instability, someone that can just wake up and say something that can cause disruption. So we don't want someone that is not mentally stable. We don't also want someone that isolates. We don't want someone that just keeps to himself or herself. So the WHO is saying that when you have people at work that got in that carrying injury, or they've got themselves injured, or they were injured either way, or they are mentally unstable, or they don't socialize, they don't integrate, they want to be on their own. Those kind of people, apart from the fact that they won't give you productive output, they won't be productive as it may, they are also threats or danger to your workplace and to the society. So we're then saying that soundness of the body, soundness of the mind, soundness of the aura, the personality matters before we can then say that the person's health is complete. So in the workplace, ventilation, lighting, restroom facilities, water and hygiene are things that can cause a state of health or unhealthy state. We're saying that conditions such as cleanliness, overcrowdedness, temperature, whether the place is too hot or too cold, can actually trigger an unhealthy situation or can impact the health in an adverse way. So when I say cleanliness, that means when the place is not clean. So should I use the word dirtiness now? So when the place is not clean, so when you've got poor sanitation practice, when you've got poor hygiene practices, when you've got an overcrowded environment, especially when now that we have COVID-19, even pre-COVID-19, these are not situations that workers should be subjected to in the workplace. Then, of course, the way you interact with the processes and with the equipment and with the materials that you use also matters. So we said handling of chemicals can also, because if there is a spill, a chemical spill on a worker, then depending on the kind of chemical, it could be so it could result in irritation, skin irritation. It could be, kind of reactive to the skin, and so it could be an acid that could actually burn off. So it could have a burning sensation and whatever. So it's a lot that we need to deal with. And overall, we say that you need to understand the hazards in the workplace and how those hazards can actually interact with your health and maybe cause a disruption. So occupational health is the promotion and maintenance of the highest degree of physical, mental, and social well-being. So as facility managers, what we're speaking or talking about this is that we want you to go out there and ensure that either your tenants, your co-workers, your colleagues at work, and everyone you interact with at work actually have the highest degree of physical, mental, and social well-being as a result of the space they occupy. So we don't want people to come to work and they fall sick because the building is sick. So someone is asking me, what do you mean by the building is sick? There's something we call poor ventilation and microbes growth in the building. So if you have a building that is always moist, you have a building where microbes can actually grow, you have a building where ventilation is an issue, I can tell you for free that if you do a survey of the occupants and you want to know when last they fell ill, what were the common symptoms that they used to experience, and just have maybe 5 to 10 questions, and you ask them, maybe ask them to complete a survey form or questionnaire, you'll be shocked that even though these people they live in different places, they come from different backgrounds, live in different places and what have you, their nature of sickness or what they've been treating or nursing or the kind of drugs they take outside the workplace will be similar because because the building is the source of their sickness and not the activities. So if you have a sick building, if you have high either attrition rates when people are resigning, or you have absenteeism, high rate of absenteeism and what have you, please, FMs, you need to go and check the building. So a facility manager does not work in isolation. A facility manager works, of course, with the utility guys, with HR and what have you. If you have data from the HR department and it's showing that people are actually falling sick, people don't come to work, let's leave COVID-19 apart. Things are actually happening. Then you can be sure that if we've got lightning, ventilation issues around overcrowdedness, issues around hygiene, cleanliness and what have you, the toilets, the workplace are not clean, things like, then you are the cause of the loss of productivity of the organization. So it is our job, and it is your job to ensure that people are safe whenever they come to the building you are managing. First point. It is your job to ensure that the employees that are working to keep that place safe are also safe. How do I mean? Manual handling issues. The guys at the generator house are actually exposed to high level of noise and vibration. So what are those things? What are those safety measures, health and safety measures in this case that we have in place. Your guys are working at the sewage treatment plant area. Your guys are working at the water treatment plant area. What are those things that we've got in place for these guys? Occupational health. Occupational health is very key. Occupational health is very key, and it is one of those things that an FM can actually help the organization, or so if it's a residential block of flats, buildings, and what have you, an FM must ensure that the health of the people, and of course the health of the workers, including himself, is given serious attention. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. But what is safety? We've spoken about health. What is safety? So you hear people say, I'm safe. If you are safe, can you say yes? And people say yes. Then the question I ask myself is that what is this safety all about? I decided to move around or across 5 industries. So from downstream oil and gas to power, that's renewable energy and what have you. Went to FMCG. The question I was asking myself is, what is safety? I got to the aviation, and we needed to do a lot of things, even before the passenger board, up to the point that the flight, the chopper actually returned. And at times we need to actually do some analysis on the flight trip, and you have to bring out the card and plug on the system and trying to see the braking speed, blah 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 of the helicopter and what have you. And the question I was asking myself is, what is safety? What is this safety? So is it that there are no hazards? Am I clearing my guys to go fly because there are no hazards? Am I signing the work permits for contractors and for the person to go on because there are no hazards? Am I overseeing a 24/7 operation as health and safety manager? Even even in my absence, when I have to go home to sleep and come back the following day, and people still have to stay back and run the plant. So so the question is, are there no hazards? Does safety means that there are no hazards? The answer is no. Safety is that point. So underline the word point. I said that deliberately because safety is not continuous. Safety is something that happens per moment. Something that can be safe now, and in the next 1 minute is no longer safe, right? Safety is freedom momentarily, is freedom from danger or risks, not necessarily absence of hazard. Let me say it another way. Safety is that situation or condition at that time where a person or group of persons, an operation or a facility is free from the risks of an unwanted event. Freedom from risks, not necessarily absence of hazards. It's not that what can cause harm are not present, but because you've got control over those things. Again, the word control means that you've got some things, we call them mitigation measures, that are working. And if those things keep working and the condition remains the same, there will be no unexpected events or consequence. It is when there is a loss or lack of the control. I use the word loss or lack. There could be a loss, meaning that it was existing before. If you say we lost the match for football fans, it means that is it that you were in in a winning or draw position. The game will always start as draw, right? 0-0. Nobody. But when you then say you lost, that means there was a change in position, which is negative, right? But when you say there was lack, it never existed. Lack is absence. When there is a loss of control, if the control was existing, or a lack of safeguard or barrier, which never existed, then you are sure that there will be an accident. But at times, what we have are not accidents. What we have are near misses. Then we then group accidents and near misses with a single word called incident. So when there is a loss of control, of safety control, you are going to have what we call an incident. So look at the picture. Look at the picture to the right-hand corner, where you have hazard, risks, near miss, and accidents. Next slide. An hazard is an unsafe act. Please, can you go back? Can you go back one slide? Please, I didn't ask you to go to the next slide. So can you just go back one slide? Thank you. So an hazard is an unsafe act or an unsafe condition. Is an act, it could be condition, it could be situation that has the potential to cause harm. Underline the word potential. An hazard is not harm. So let me just give you this. If there is water spilled, if someone spill water on the floor, so there is water spill on the floor on maybe a marbled or a tiled floor. So generally, let's say there is wet floor. So the floor is wet. That wet floor has the potential to make somebody to slip and fall, right? But that the floor is wet does not automatically means that someone will fall. It only has the potential to make someone fall. Then if someone decides to step on that water deliberately or not. Okay, so if someone steps on the water, a wet floor, either the person did that deliberately or by mistake, a situation will be created. So if you step on the wet floor and you are wearing good footwear that has got grips, then you can actually step on the wet floor and nothing will happen. You step on the wet floor and you realize, oh, the floor is wet. Then you call someone or you go grab the mop stick and you clean up, right? Or you call someone to do that. But if you're wearing a bedroom slippers, right? Or you're actually running and you don't have, or maybe you're even barefooted. It could be in the house, it could be at home. You can then sleep and fall. You might sleep and fall and nothing will happen to you. You just stand up, you complain. If you're not the only one staying in the house, you can nag and say, oh, who poured water on the floor? Who didn't do this? Blah, blah, blah. And we all say, we are sorry. Then we clean up, right? And you move on, case closed. But you can also fall, step on that same water, fall down, and have a broken arm. In that case, there is a medical emergency immediately, and that person becomes a victim. That person needs to be taken to the hospital. That person will spend days, if not weeks, with the POP, the plaster of Paris, used to cast his hand so that there could be some healing and blah, blah, blah. And the person may not be able to go back to work. Or the person might go back to work and be restricted, be limited in terms of what he or she can do. It started with the wet floor. It started with somebody pouring water on the floor and not cleaning up. Of course, money will be spent in the hospital. Even if you are covered by your company, somebody actually paid for that. Looking at this picture, there was a lift that was about to take place, a lift operation. The hayab or crane has actually hooked the load. However, look at the place we blew up and circled. There was a point where the anchor is about to be broken. Unfortunately, nobody saw that. So that's an unsafe condition. People not seeing it is an unsafe act. But fine, they've not seen it. It's an unsafe condition. So it's an accident waiting to happen, but it hasn't happened. You can now see two guys wearing reflective jackets. So that means they know something about health and safety, or they've heard about it, or they've been forced to wear their reflective jackets. And they were gisting, they were talking, and they decided of all routes, they decided to pass this route. Maybe it's the only route that, to where they are going to their destination. And they were standing or walking under a suspended load. You can see that the crane or hayab has actually lifted the load above ground, and they were just passing underneath. The decision to pass underneath is called an unsafe act or an unsafe action. We don't explain this in terms of whether it is deliberate or it is just loss of mind at that moment. No. When you see a lift operation that is ongoing, you must take precaution. So if we dig deep into the root cause, so that as simple as lack of awareness or lack of training could be the main reason why this happened. But because it's root cause analysis, we're not going to stop at lack of awareness. Then we can start questioning the safety management system that is in place. So it could be lack of procedure. So you're looking at this, there is a load being lifted. Two people are working underneath the load. It could be because there is lack of procedure. So there is no instruction to say if this is happening, this should happen. Okay. Third picture, the load fell. Of course, we said there was a weak anchor point. The load fell, but it dropped in front of these two guys. It didn't hit them. That is a near miss, but it's an incident. Something has happened. So we call it a major occurrence. This has happened, and so this has happened, and we need to report this so we can improve the system, right? But they might also be unlucky, and that load will actually fall on them and crush both of them. Then that's an accident, and that's fatality, straight up. You don't need to take these guys to the hospital. You just need to get a wheelbarrow and maybe a shovel and pack their carcass and take to the mortuary. So we need to just use the bag and whatever. So as simple as lack of procedure, I didn't say loss. I said lack of procedure can lead to multiple fatality on a single day. Okay, so if you work for an organization where the safety objective or the target is zero fatality, no death, sir, I can tell you for free that lack of procedure around how a lift operation should go on, around how work at height should be executed, can actually give you multiple fatality. It's not just when we have fire and explosion risks in the oil and gas that we can have multiple fatality, or when we have gas leak. So you can tell me that your company is 100% safe. I will challenge you to show me how you gather your data and what your leading and lagging indicators are. I've done over a decade in the industry, and I can say for free here that I can punch holes in how people collect their HSE data. If your number of toolbox, so I know people here will say, oh, we organize toolbox. So I go on LinkedIn and I see people saying, I've trained 1,000 staff. Fantastic. So can I see your evaluation reports? Then can I see the actual near misses and incidents? So don't let me say near misses now. So let me say near miss and accident. Can I see the number of reported incidents? And we can then maybe, if you allow us, we can install CCTV cameras in some work areas and do a playback of that after 1 week. And I will show you multiple hazards that were not reported. Risk is the likelihood of that hazard becoming a consequence. So replace the word consequence with unwanted events or with accidents. So when you say there is a risk, the risk means that there is a chance. Let me explain this way. If you give the company's vehicle to an unqualified driver or to an intoxicated driver, somebody is drunk, but he's your best guy, fantastic. Give him the car keys. The likelihood of you then, having or experiencing an accident is higher if a vehicle is overspeeding around a school area where children can actually cross and what have you. Then the chances or probability, or what we call likelihood, of the vehicle hitting someone is high. And that's what we call a risk. If there is a possibility or probability or likelihood or chance of a negative outcome happening, negative for health and safety, if we're positive employee management. So if there is a risk of that happening, then we take it as a risk, then we want to know how severe, how bad that risk could be. So we can then know how we So can you move to the next slide? Okay, thank you. So we're asking how your work can affect your health. First thing you need to do is to identify the problem. So once you identify the problem, you need to analyze the activities that you do at work. And let's see how those activities, could or has negatively impacted your health. So the materials you use, the method you use, the things you do will actually, or the kind of work, the nature of work will actually have a direct correlation with the health or the ill health or disease that you will be exposed to, which could be short-term, acute, or have a long-term effect when they develop. So the first question is, what are those things that can cause harm or injury to you as a result of your interaction with the work tools, materials, method, even the management style at work. Secondly, are there ways for you to measure those hazards? Are there ways for you to know how exposed you are to those hazards? Next slide. So if you know that, then we can come to this slide and say, okay, so how do these things get into your body? There are 4 major ways by which harmful substances, we're also going to come to things around ergonomics and manual handling, just hold on. But this time, we're looking at harmful substances. There are 4 ways by which these harmful substances actually get into your body. 1, you can inhale or breathe in those substances. 2, they could be absorbed through the skin or other openings, such as eyes, they can, or even exposed wound, they can be absorbed into the body. Thirdly, ingestion. You can consume them. So when you've got chemical and you don't wash your hand before eating, so you touch your food and introduce the chemical directly into your system. I don't want to use the word poison, but what you've done is that you've poisoned your system, your body system, and you pay for that. Injection. You go either legally into an hospital to see a medical practitioner, and you, at the end of the day, you've been asked to take some injections. Or better still, if that person is on drug, either illicit drug or legal drug, and he has to inject himself. So if somebody is diabetic, I know you may have to inject yourself with insulin if you have that medical condition. Of course, under medical supervision. So you've been advised, so it was more or less a prescription for you to inject yourself maybe every 12 hours or every 3 days, depending on what it is. Or if the same person is also on drugs, heroin and things like that, I don't know, the person may also introduce that into his or her system by injection. So injection, ingestion, absorption, and inhalation are ways that harmful substances, especially chemicals, get into our body. Some of us, we apply insecticides or we fumigate the environment at the workplace, even at home, and we don't plan how that should be done to prevent harmful effect on our workers or occupants. So you know that there will be production or operation, and on a Saturday or Friday evening, whatever it is, you decided to contract a fumigation specialist, and you got your workplace fumigated. Yes, you may want to, ensure that the workplace is safe from reptiles, from flying insects, from even rodents and what have you. But you've also introduced, chemical into people's system, especially those people need to work at that time. So we need to be cognizant of that. And facility managers, please, we need to plan. And when I say plan, I mean not just sending me. So I've worked. I think it was when I was with MBC that you now get an email from the environmental manager saying, oh, there will be fumigation tomorrow. No, it doesn't work that way. I might also have committed via supply chain planning that I'm producing 20,000 crates of Coke tomorrow. So if we then need to fumigate, then are you then saying that I should stop production? And so if a crate of Coke sells for 1,000 naira, so 1,000 times 20,000 will be 20 million. So you want me to incur 20 million naira loss on a single day for lack of production because you want to fumigate? So there'll be that pushback from the production guys or manufacturing guys. But if there is good synergy, if we work together to say, okay, you know what, we are fumigating once in a month. So which day this month should we plan the fumigation for? And I can tell you for free that the guys can actually move their maintenance day. So the day they're supposed to carry out maintenance on the machine, they can actually move it to the day that we're going to fumigate. So they can say, okay, we come in the morning, we carry out maintenance work, you come in the afternoon, or your team come in the afternoon, you fumigate, and there's no production for that day. We can always tell the company that next Saturday is for maintenance and fumigation. So the maintenance guy does 8 hours, you come for 2-3 hours, everybody leave the facility on except the security guys who also sit far away from where the fumigation activities were carried out. And we are going to have smooth operations. But you can't decide in silo. FMs, you can't say, yes, you are the facility manager and it's your job. Says who? I can decide that I don't want this place fumigated. If I'm the CEO, I can say I don't want this place fumigated in the next for the next 3 months, and nothing is going to happen. But because we are here to work as a team, planning then matters. Not just sitting behind your desks and clicking the send button and say, yes, you've done your job. You've done nothing. You need to speak to other process owners, key process owners, and agree on the best time to have things like fumigation, things that could affect or impact other people negatively. Okay, so plants, have you looked at how they interact with the chemicals, with the bacteria that will be contained in the sewage? And have you then made necessary provision? Please stop giving them milk. Milk is not the solution. Are you trying to protect them away? Either protect by caging the hazardous substance, or you protect by shielding the exposed person. So you can shield the exposed person, you can cage the okay. Then categorization, we can look at the hazardous substance from the chemical perspective, from the physical perspective. It could be ergonomics, it could be biological. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. So we can react differently to these chemicals, and is solely based on the type of chemical or the composition of the chemical. So it could be irritation effect, it could be toxic, it could be carcinogenous, it could be sensitizing. So the reaction differs based on the type of chemical you're handling. We are big men and women. Sorry, I think the network logged me out. So I was saying that you need to then understand where and how those chemicals please, you need to read the chemical, the short card, the safe handling of chemical. So there is a card, more or less instruction on how the chemical should be handled. Then the same chemical, please, you need to ask for the SDS, this safety data sheet, or what we used to call MSDS, material safety data sheet of the chemicals. Please, can you ask your supplier for the SDS, safety data sheet of the chemicals that are being supplied to you? Even if you guys go out there to get them personally, directly, you may need to then also check if there is, or if there is instruction about what you need to do in case of emergency. So when you are exposed to that chemical, whether it is going to be irritating, whether it is toxic, whether it's going to be sensitizing, or whether it is carcinogenic, you need to know how to react or respond to that exposure immediately. Next slide, please. So I mentioned something that is very key here, which is the SDS. Ensure you have the safety data sheet of all your chemicals. And who is involved at work? Don't let me waste my time here. Everyone is involved. Everyone. The chain is as strong as the weakest link. Nobody is safe until all of us is safe. So if we are not safe, or if somebody is not safe among us, then we are not safe. And I think that's the control that is being pushed forward now for COVID-19 vaccination. That until all of us get vaccinated, then none of us is safe, because the chain is as weak or is as strong as its weakest link. Until all of us agree to ensure that there is zero accidents, then none of us is safe. Next slide. How do we do that? The main hazards in the workplace must be communicated to everyone. Again, underline the word communicated. So people should know. You can call it awareness. People should know. In fact, in the ISO standard, I think that should be clause 7. One is talking about, you need to call the hazard that we're trying to control. People need to know. Forget clause 8 that is talking about operational safety. This is what we need to do. People need to know. There must be that communication line established already. Otherwise, we're going to move into the emergency mode. Training, information, awareness should not be underestimated in the workplace. But let me shock you. The hierarchy of safety controls classified that as number 5. Is it 5 or 6? I think 5. Maybe it should be 6. So it classified that as number 5. Classified under administrative control. Meaning that there are things you need to do before we talk about communicating the hazard. If possible, can we eliminate that hazard? That thing you are looking at that is dangerous, is it possible to stop using it? If it's not possible, is it then possible to substitute the process, the material, the tool, or the method? If that is not possible, can we then introduce what we call the engineering controls? By isolation. Engineering control by isolation. That means that can we cage the hazard? Can the hazard be put under lock and key? If no, Can we control the hazard by separating the people? So we call it isolation and guarding. So the first one is control of engineering control by isolation. Then we can then have engineering control by guarding. In most textbooks, they merge these two, right? Well, I'm breaking this down for you to understand. If we can't, can we administer some controls face to face, H to H? So can we do human to human control? What do I mean? Permit to work, ensuring that we get competent workers, the workers, ensuring we supervise them, ensuring we have the procedures written out and being enforced, ensuring we have maybe an oversight, maybe by employing HSE officer, ensuring that we qualify the workers. That's administrative. If these things are not possible or they are not 100% effective, can we then introduce use of PPE? Okay. Then, because we are dealing with human beings, can we have what we call code of business conduct? NEBOSH called it discipline. Well, I don't know what NEBOSH has called it in 2021. Okay, I know syllabus has changed, but when I had my NEBOSH in 2012, it's called discipline. So can we discipline? Can we have code of conduct? Can we discipline? So what code of conduct means that it's carrot and stick kind of system. If you do this, fine. But if you refuse to do this because you want to go your own way, despite being informed, then this is the consequence. And that's what we call discipline. Until we have that in place, we can't keep the facility safe or free from hazards. Hazard of noise and vibration. Sir, when you were buying that generator, did you intend to buy a noise-proof generator, or were you looking at costs to decide to go and buy one China unrated generator that will be making the whole noise? You then think the best way to control that is to go and buy original earpiece and give to the operator, to the generator man, and ask him to sit down beside the generator because you don't want the light to blink, right? But you went to buy a second-hand generator. And you decide to keep that generator close to the facility because there's no space, right? And you felt the best way to keep the generator is on a plinth, on a concrete plinth out there without any housing, right? If you want to actually practice, someone is laughing. You want to actually practice health and safety, FMs, you need to think through from the point you want to put. So we want to manage noise and vibration in the facility. And so we know that the generator makes noise and everything. Now we want to replace. What is foiling your decision? Is it cost? Cost alone cannot foil your decision or your decisions. I've worked in different organizations, and of a truth, it will be unfair to say that they didn't consider health and safety while making decisions. But I can tell you that health and safety is not the first thing. In fact, we consider environmental issues or compliance issues above health and safety. You know why? Health and safety in Nigeria has no binding law or regulation except in the oil and gas industry and in manufacturing companies that are guided by the Factory Act 2004. Let me say it another way. Apart from manufacturing companies and oil and gas companies, every other person in Nigeria is free to do whatever he likes. Every other person is free to bring in hazard and accidents into the operation. Because we don't have binding, underline the word binding laws or binding regulations around health and safety that can actually send the CEOs to jail. You can Google this, Health and Safety Executive, HSE UK. So if you Google Health and Safety Executive UK, you will always, so they have long list of guidelines, procedures that you can use to keep your facility or operations at a minimal, at least the least safety level, minimal safety level. HSE UK are also enforcers. They have the right to close any facility, any facility that is registered in the UK, any facility. And they have precedents of legal suits where CEOs and head of operations have been sentenced to prison or to sentenced to say 5 years imprisonment, confined. Some companies have actually gone underneath. They've gone bankrupt because of health and safety. In fact, you can also Google SHP, health and safety practitioner. I actually think it's actually a magazine that you can subscribe. I think it's free. I can't remember myself paying the last 1 year, and I still get those mails. You know, so I think so. That's so SHP. It should be safety and health practitioner or professional. You can just check that out. You will read cases where companies, persons were fined, sent to jail. When I say fine, heavily fined, some $1 million, so £1 million rather, because of health and safety infringements. In Nigeria, it's not going to happen, sir, except that accident or incident happened the Factory Act, which is basically around factories, and the oil and gas. Of course, the oil and gas have got DPR as regulator. For the environment, they've got NOSDRA, and all these guys. They're very firm. You can't have an incident, a near miss, that's actually a dangerous occurrence in the oil and gas, and you won't conduct an incident investigation. It can't happen. But until somebody dies in the factory, that's when you see some safety agencies going to lock those places. So it's until there is fire, that's when you see the fire. Apologies if there's any fire service person on this on this call. This training advocacy is to empower facility managers. So don't just see this as a training. They say, okay, health and safety. No, this is a means of advocating by empowerment, by strengthening your knowledge that health and safety is key. It's until there is fire in a place, that's when you see the fire service going there to actually fight the fire. And you never hear that there is a fire incident investigation report that is made public. By the time I was trying to work on something like that, but I realized I don't have the power to do that, where you try to collate fire incidents and you investigate such. No, unless there is an agency empowered by the law to carry out fire investigation, independent of fire service, where people from fire service can just be part of that team and not what we're doing right now. But instead of sitting back and saying, well, there's no regulation, then I should also sit back. Work area, facility safe. For legal requirements, somebody can be charged to court for criminal or for civil offense. Where there is law backing health and safety, you can be prosecuted for criminal infringement, meaning that you've broken a law. But where there is no law or where the laws are weak, as in our case, then that accident becomes a civil case. It's a case between the employee and the employer. So they will go to National Industrial Court, right? And they will ask the employer to pay 10,000 naira, and that's the end of the case. Hello? We need to create a safe workplace. That's the message. These hazards being displayed here are just a few of what could happen in your workplace. Please, can you identify the problem? Noise and vibration, what is? Where is it coming from? So we can do what we call the impact source pathway or source impact pathway, which means that you are going from the point, the inputs, where you are dissecting the process or the operation itself to see, okay, where is the noise coming from? Then what actually caused this noise? Are people exposed? If yes, who are they and how many? What can we do to minimize this noise? Those are the controls that I was telling you about. What is the output after applying the controls? That means what then happened? Then what is the outcome of that output? Meaning that you are taking stock of the output. What has it led to? For outcome, let me say this again. You need to have an objective in mind for you to speak to the outcome, for you to say something about the outcome. So you want the noise level. So the noise level of the generator may not reduce, except or until you spend some money, maybe the silencer, maybe you have even the an housing. You build an housing for the generator where you then have the noise reducer, within that generator space. But you need to have in mind what level of noise, what decibel noise level that you want at the end of the day. So after doing all this, investing your money and things like that for the controls, you then try to see that, have you actually got to that point that you desired, the outcome? If yes, then what is the impact on the health of the people, health and safety of the people? So in terms of, so if your organization does things around maybe medical checkup for the workers, then you can look at a trend maybe for 2-3 years and see if anything has changed, as regards the operators or operatives, handling that sector. Then you can then value that. We call it value of impact. So if these guys have always been going to the clinic or to the hospital on a monthly basis or whatever the frequency, and they've spending X amount of money, now that you have changed the generator to maybe a less noisy one, or you've built, you've caged the generator, you've built an housing, you've put in some other control measures, you've sited the generator a bit far away from the office area or from the buildings. You've created maybe a workstation for the workers, for the generator operators outside that generator room and what have you. You can then actually measure if of a truth there is progress or not. I'm saying source impact pathway for you to even see if what you are doing is making sense. Ionizing, radiation, chemical substances, hazardous substances, biological, drug and alcohol, violence at work. These are things that can happen at work that you need to take a look at and check how can they happen, how can they occur, what do we need to do, what are the indicators. Now, energy, or should I say, hazard released by energy source. That's what you have in this circular picture, where you have the mechanical, electrical, pressure, temperature. These are the 10, if I'm not mistaken, that should be 10. These are the 10 hazards that could occur due to stored energy. I won't bore you with this, but I can say for free that if something is moving, that's motion, like a moving vehicle, a moving forklift, it could result in an accident. Mechanical, if you have two parts that are grinding against each other, things rotating equipment, they could also lead to. So there could be a finger trap. You could get your hand entangled, in that rotating or moving parts, which could be an issue. Of course, electrical, there could be risks of electrocution, even death due to any of these hazards. So electrical risks is there. Pressure from stored cylinders. So if you need to bring in contractors that are coming with their welding machine, oxyacetylene gas, and there could be explosion of those gases. In fact, if you have kitchen, so in your facility, let's assume that your facility is an hospital, so you've got the kitchen area, and they use the cooking gas, the butane gas. The true matter is there could be explosion if the controls, when I say control now, so where is the cylinder gas and where is it kept? Outside, right? Is it chained? I've gone for an audit. That was about 3 years ago. 3 years, 2019. Okay, just 2 years, 2019. I've got for one of the big hospitals in Lagos. I've gone to conduct, and I was shocked. Let me say, it's easier to die within the premises of the hospital than to die inside the hospital. Okay, it's easier to die outside the premises than to die in the theater room or ward. So I went into the hospital. Everything looks so good. I won't mention the hospital. Everything looks so good, but it's somewhere in the way. So everything looks so good. Then when we decided to then conduct a facility inspection, I think I had a 50-page report with pictures. It was a disaster. The oxygen gases, the cylinders, were just freestanding where they were not chained. If that cylinder should fall, the cap could be moved, it could explode, and it can actually kill someone. We went to the kitchen area. You need to taste the food, very sweet. But I got into the kitchen, and I just hope I didn't sack anybody that day, because their boss was there, and with what I was saying and how I was looking, I'm sure somebody was in trouble. The control switches the panels were open. And when I say open, I mean somebody can actually. So I just told them, if I want to commit suicide and get paid to this hospital, I won't go into the hospital, because I won't die in the hospital. I won't die inside the hospital, the theater, the clinic, doctors are there. I won't die. But it's just for me to go to this water treatment area and touch, because the panels are actually exposed, and touch a conductor, pump, electrical safety issue, pump, I'm on the floor, and they have to pay my family. So I'm trying to tell you that we need to have our foot on ground. We call it go to Gemba. You need to be visible on the shop floor. You need to practice felt leadership. Don't assume that your guys are doing the right thing. You need to be visible on the shop floor every day. When I say shop floor, you may not be on the you may not be in the manufacturing sector. Maybe yours, maybe commercial, industrial building, office. You need to go around. Let me just say it that way. You need to go around. You need to have a system in place where hazards are being identified, reported, and closed out. So somebody saw an open drain cover or an open drainage without the cover. The cover is either missing, or the drainage cover is either missing, or maybe when they were cleaning the drainage, somebody removed that and did not put it back. And for weeks, that same issue is there. I can tell you for free that if it has been reported and it has not been fixed, nobody's going to report about that again, except the person is a new person. Nobody's going to report about that again. And it then turns into a cultural thing. It becomes a culture, it becomes a way of life that, oh, this, if you tell them they won't do anything, just let's leave it. And people start jumping over an open manhole. Sir, one day someone is going to fall inside. And when the person falls inside, you may be lucky. Near miss, then you just fall, stand up, and walk away without telling you. That's even bad. And you may just be unlucky that the person will have broken arm, and the cost of treating that person, plus cost of replacing him, we'll go to the cost now, plus cost of downtime caused by the accident, where people will come and help him out. People that should be working, that should be at their desk working, or front of the machine, operating the machine, they need to come and help this guy. Then they will be gisting about it, they will talk to themselves about it. All those lost time, plus the hospital bill that you're going to pay, the medical bill, plus maybe the training time, the time you're going to give to the amount of time you're going to spend training the new person, and plus many things. That cost will actually outweigh the cost of replacing that drain cover or just putting it back? So facility managers need to have their boots on ground. You need to go to the shop floor. You need to go to Gemba. You need to go to where it happens, where it is happening, where things are happening. You need to go there. So when I say that means where operations. So you need to go. We need to see you every day at the generator house. We need to see you every day at the water treatment plants. And not just seeing because they're just working. You need to interact. You need to communicate. You need to talk. And you need to feel the pulse of the people. You need to ask them questions. I saw something on LinkedIn, and I think the MD of Domino Pizzas posted some pictures of his visit to site, and he said he went there and he was asking them, how can we make this place better? He's not asking them to complain. If you go there and say, what is wrong? They will all say nothing, especially when the boss is there. Right? When maybe the branch manager now is there, you now say something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Everything is fine. Yes, everything is fine. But when you're asking questions around how can we make this place a better place? Do you have suggestions how to make this water treatment plant area better? Do you have suggestions how to make this energy center? So maybe that's where you have your generators, the transformer, everything. How can we make this place better and safer? You are asking that guy for his advice. So you have to be humble enough to ask that question. If you are not, you just go there and wave to them and say, you are just here to say hello, and you walk away, right? And they will tell you nothing. Nothing. But if you are humble enough to go to the shop floor, to go floor by floor within the facility you are managing, you see people, you say hi to them, and you are asking somebody, please, how is it going? Everything is fine. Perfect. Is there any way is there anything I can do for you to make you more comfortable? Oh my God. The person is going to tell you some things that you might not see yourself. And that will make that place a better place, especially if it's not heavy on the financial commitment side. Next slide, please. We'll soon go on short break, but I need to just show you something. I won't dwell too much on this. Sort of accidents. Beds in, I think, 1960 or thereabouts, 1969, okay, said that before an accident can happen, that accident you're saying, before it can happen, a lot of people would have seen that same thing, that same hazard. I said hazard has the potential to cause harm. So a lot of people would have seen that same hazard and they would have kept quiet. Those hazards would have gone unreported. Then Bell said there is a 600 to 60 to 30 to 1 ratio. That was the theory. That for every one major injury, there would have been 10 minor injuries. There have been 30 damages to the assets. And there would have been 600 unreported either near miss or hazard identified. So a lot of things will have happened around that same issue that nobody is talking about. At the end of the day, we then see that, oh, there is a fatality or there is a major loss, major accident, and people start questioning that major accident. Sir, the question is not about that day. The question is not about the major accident. It has happened time over time, but nobody has reported. Can you please go back to the workplace? Unfortunately, tomorrow is 1st of October, and for some of us, it's a public holiday. But can you go back to the workplace and institute an hazard identification and reporting system? Hazard identification. So let people feel free to tell you to report, not by word of mouth. No, because if I come as your auditor and you're telling me, oh, for our social performance, we used to involve the workers in health and safety decisions, and we're doing well. No, I was just looking at you. I will only ask you, can you please show me how you've involved the workers and how they've reported the incidents? That's all I want to know. So your near miss card or hazard reporting cards then come to play, right? And if you forge that, I will know. All I need to do is to look at your incident record. Then I'll try to collaborate your reactive, that's your lagging and your leading indicators. Then I go to the shop floor and interview 1 or 2 people, and that's all. Then we can make a position. And I can tell you that I'm sorry, I can't assure that statement. And if your facility or your company is on the stock exchange or you want to publish the sustainability report, I'm very sorry, I won't be able to confirm what you just said. I'll tell you in a very nice way, but I won't do it, because you need to show evidence, and not just for eye service, no, not just for reporting, no, but for posterity. That's what we call accident trending or pattern. So for the trend of the accident, or for us to have a pattern, I can actually pick up the near misses. Then we can have a visual representation, so it could even be as simple as plotting the graph on Excel or doing the Power BI. We can just have that representation, and I can tell you for free that we need to focus on XYZ, because the near miss reporting is telling us that if we don't control these things in these areas, things will go wrong. It also helps your safety case. It also helps your organization to stand strong, to be firm when it comes to health and safety, before there could be a major accident. That's what this thing is telling us. So many things will have gone unreported. So I'm challenging the facility managers today. Go on the internet, Google hazard reporting form templates. You're going to get maybe 1 million free hazard identification and reporting templates. Maybe 1,000, 1 million, no, not 1,000, 1 million free forms on the internet. Download one. Pattern it to what you do in your organization. If you are good with creating Google form, sir, create a Google form. If you guys have WhatsApp group, share it on a WhatsApp group. Let them come back to you. Sir, they can report anonymously. You can make that place where you have the name and department to be anonymous. It is not about the reporter. Hear this. It is about the issue, what is being reported. It's not about the person that is reporting. It is about the substance that is being reported. That is your own focus. If you can't create that on Google Form, please just do maybe 2 on a page. Remember the environment, so we don't cut or fall all the trees in the forest. So you can have 2 on a page. You can record this. You can have two forms on a page, so you can do front and back printing on the paper, and just share. So if you have a long list, so they can continue at the back. So you can just have, so that means two people can actually using just one sheet of paper to, you know, to report, and you can open a physical file where you put all these things. If it's about that Google form, remember the report should go to an email address, which from the email address, from your email, you can then download or copy out what the issues are and have create maybe MS Word or I prefer Excel, because you can then track using the Excel. So you can have an intern, an IT student, a copper. So it doesn't cost money, please. So don't let us say it's about the cost. You pay, I don't know how much we pay coppers now, but I know then companies pay coppers 20K that time. But now, please, it will be unfair for you to be paying coppers 20K. Eh? So get coppers that, you know, so whatever you pay them is being augmented by what, or completed by what government is paying. And you ask them to populate this, you know, and you have a system. So you can have what the issues are, the location, the issue, the location. You can have the category of impact or category of injury. So what are we even saying? You can have the category of reports. In terms of the type of incidents that we're talking about. So you can spool. So if you want to know about fire incidents or electrical safety, near miss or hazard and fire, I can just go filter on the Excel, you know, put the drop down, click on electrical, and these that have been reported around electrical safety will be filtered out. Then I can track that. Then you can then have, okay, what are the things, what was done immediately? What do you plan to do to close this out permanently? It could be that you need to replace the circuit breaker. Maybe that's it. Maybe now what you need to do is to disconnect that breaker. Maybe for 1 or 2 days. You need to have an oversight. That's my point. For you to address this triangle. Next slide, please. We don't have all the time to explain. Okay. No. I think you skipped something. Go back. Go back one slide. Go back one slide. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Please, can you go back one slide? I want to be sure you didn't skip anything.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you did. Okay. So I don't need to overflog this again. I've spoken around this, but let me emphasize the duty of care. Okay, so why are we even discussing this safety, accident, blah, blah, blah? What's in it for us? As an organization, 3 things are key. I'm not saying as an individual now, forget your own personal belief. In health and safety, for the organization, 3 things are key. We call something the duty of care, which is the moral reason why companies want to exhibit or want to practice their, we call the financial reason. The cost, it costs money. It costs money to reduce accidents, but it costs money also to walk away from accidents. Then 3, the legal reasons. So duty of care is around the image of the company, is around the conscience of the company, is around the right to life of the employees. We're saying that you don't want to set up a company to be killing people. You don't want to set up an abattoir where people get amputated, people die because you want to make money. So companies, especially the ones that have got shareholders, protect their image, their reputation with their life. And health, safety, and environment is very fast way for you to lose everything that you've earned. Just come and say, oh, that factory, 3 people died last week, they fell from heights. This week, another person. Lagos State Safety Commission will come and just shut down. And that can lead to the total closure. That can lead to bankruptcy of that company. Right? So companies have their image of to protect. Companies also know that you, as an employee, have the right to leave. Please, if they don't want to pay you salary, they don't need to kill someone. Just tell the person that we don't have the salary to pay, you can go. They know that we have the right to life. So we need to leave, not because we want to work for them. So the company has that, they are looking at that moral right to say, okay, let's allow the guy leave by make sure that the workplace and the tools we give to him are okay. In the US, it's called the general clause. Ushers call it general clause, which means that every company set up in the US automatically has the rights or as the is automatically obliged. So it's mandate for the company to ensure that the facilities are safe. Otherwise, if there's any accident, that company can be closed down. We've signed up to the ILO, the International Labour Organization, laws and what have you. And we know that even here in Nigeria, companies need to set up safely. And that's why it's in the CAMA. And the Allied Matters, the Company Allied Matters Act, to say that companies must create a conducive workplace. So if that company is registered in Nigeria, that's it, whether as a limited company, business name, or whatever it is, then they are obliged legally to create a workplace. So they know they don't want to, go against that minimum requirement. They are not saying they're going to give you the best safety, but they know that they should create a safe workplace. It's enormous. It's not straightforward. I can't sit down here and calculate cost of accident to say that, okay, if somebody sustain injury, then pay him 1 million naira. That is the cost of the accident. No, it can lead to hundreds of millions. If it's a serious accident, there was a time, I think that was last year. Yeah, I think last year, that May or June, just before I went to the Big Four, and that I was actually called to come and work for a company in Ibadan. Because they just killed somebody. So I like using the word kill. The company killed somebody. The person did not die. Nobody chooses to die. People are killed, right? Except the person is very old. The company, so a boy, that was 2020, yes, 2020, I think April or thereabout. The boy, I think, is a part 3 or part 4 student of the University of Ibadan. And he went to work in this, I won't mention the company's name, I don't want to be sued. So he went to work in this detergent manufacturing or making company somewhere in Oluyole in Ibadan. You are familiar with Ibadan. And I don't know how it happened. The guy slipped and entered the machine and was pieces. It wasn't crushed. So I understand, okay, detergent, soap. So maybe the floor was slopey. I don't know. But how somebody fell and slipped into the machine that is working, that is rotating. And of course, the factory was shut down. The boy died, of course. And there were a lot of issues. And it wasn't funny. That company was closed for over 6 months. So you can imagine. So when we want to calculate cost of accident for that kind of organization, unfortunately for me, I didn't study economics. Maybe I would have been able to. Maybe I would even ask our economists in the office to get me the cost of accident. Yeah, that could be something we want to do. So the cost of accidents, people were not paid salary for over 6 months. People, that means co-employees, co-workers, because the company closed down, so everybody had to leave and be on standby to be called. For over 6 months, the company have to bring auditors from Lagos with managers seconded to sit down in Ibadan for about 9 months to put a system in place. The company have to stop operation. So no production, they're not making money. So if that company has actually gotten some bank loan somewhere, they have to pay the interest and the principal on that loan when they are not working. Because the bank is not going to cancel the loan because they got accident. The insurance premium will actually increase. A lot of things would have happened before those guys can come back. Now they are back working, good for them, but a lot of things have happened. A lot of things. So accident is not something we wish or we want, but it can happen if there is a loss, especially if nobody is strengthening the barrier. And of course, I mentioned the legal reason, and you can be charged to court either for civil or criminal offense. So if there is a law, so if there is boiler explosion, for instance, now, if there is boiler explosion, very straightforward. That's why there is a boiler safety regulation of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that's 2018. Very straightforward. If we check, so if the regulation is saying that the boiler should be inspected by a licensed inspector every 6 months, cheap goal will be scored. All I need to do is to ask you for your boiler inspection certificate. And if you provide something that was not inspected in the last 6 months, you have contravened the legal requirement. Then, of course, the company will be short, one. Then we can actually press charges against the employer, which could be the MD of the company, and of course, the people responsible for that operation, and they'll be charged to court. So they can be given an option of fine, fantastic, but we can press criminal charge and get good money. If it is not written down, so you provided me with a machine that has no machine guard, that we need to actually put our hand to adjust the conveyor belt or chain anytime it's working, and I got my fingers caught in that conveyor belt, and I lost my finger, know for free that yes, there may be no law, but we'll go to court and you're going to pay me. But the sweetest one is if it is actually governed by a law. When I say sweet, I mean people can go to jail. I don't like people going to jail, but that will then force them to do the right thing. So when you see organizations that are up there in health and safety, is either one, that organization belongs to a group of companies, and so the standard is being set by the group and not by the local team in Nigeria, or there is a legal requirement in the industry where that organization is playing, or they just have a safety conscious management or MD that want things to be done right. So note that for organization, for the reputation's sake or duty of care, for financial reasons, and of course for legal reasons, you need to imbibe health and safety culture. Next slide, please. Okay, causes of accidents could be unsafe act or unsafe condition. I said that when we're explaining the hazards, and it could be caused by operational factor, environmental factor, or what we call the organizational factor. So operational factor, that's directly linked with the work that you are doing. Environmental factor, the condition that are existing, the conditions that are existing in that place of work. When I say condition, I mean things that have to do with ventilation, illumination, how the workplace is arranged, things that have to do with maybe let me see, maybe the quality of air that's so that also has to do with the HVAC system. The other time I was talking about sick building. So a lot of things can actually come into place. Even the arrangement of the office, those things are important to us, under environments. So that's the route that we take. So we need to reduce repetition or excessive repetitiveness, so that the people can then, so your workplace design, how you design the workplace also matters in terms of accident prevention, because that would then reduce the fatigue time, in that operation. Then of course, organizational factor that has to do with culture, that has to do with the recruitment process. Imagine we just recruit people based on nepotism. So if it is, oh, this person is from my village, let's just get him, even though he's not qualified, then you're actually setting the pace for an accident. So it's actually an accident waiting to happen, setting the pace for accidents. Okay, and these accidents can then be caused directly by unsafe acts and or unsafe condition. Next slide, please. Can we move faster? Next slide. Yeah, cost could be to you as a victim, could be to your loved ones. Cost can also be to the employer. The cost can be to the general public, and the cost can be direct and indirect. So the cost to the injured person, the cost to the loved ones, the friends and family that will be visiting him in the hospital, the tax that the person is not paying. These are issues that are worth addressing. And of course, to the employer and to the employee, to the employer, we have direct and indirect costs. To the employee, of course, we have direct costs, which are all listed on this page. Next slide, please. We'll be going on short break by 6 p.m. I think we have 5 minutes before that break. Okay. So I'll say what type of incidents should be reported. Please, all types of incidents should be reported. All, everything. Next slide. Yeah. Again, this is just trying to this image is just trying to tell us again that for every at-risk behavior, that's unsafe act, and hazard or near miss identified, we could have first aid situations where the person can just go to the clinic. You have in-house clinic and will be treated, and the person can resume back to work. We could have what we call the medical treated case, meaning that the person will be treated at the clinic, but the person will need to go home that day and come back the following day to work. That's the MTC, medical treated case. We could have what we call the restricted work cases, where the person, let me say this. For restricted work cases, the person actually went to the hospital. He was asked to come back to work, same way as the MTC, the medical duty of restricted work case. The person cannot resume to carry out his specific task. So imagine it was back sprain, physical injury, it could be back sprain. Maybe the kind of work he does, he needed to bend down a lot to work and everything. And now he's suffering from maybe skeletal or back sprain or waist pain or things like that. Even though the person has resumed back at work, he can't do exactly the same job he did yesterday because the issues are still existing, or the issue is still existing. So all you need to do is you can then ask him to do something else. So imagine somebody suffered a sprain, and maybe it controls traffic on your site, or it does something that has to do with maybe operating the computer or what have you. You can ask the person to resume back at work and ask him or her to go and supervise maybe a team that's working. So it won't be the same kind of job that is carrying out. So that's restricted work cases. The person is back at work, but is not doing exactly what he was employed to do because of the incident or the accident. For the medical treated case, the person cannot resume work immediately. So maybe it happened in the morning. So for some companies, they set up a timeline. They say if the person resume under 24 hours, then it's still a medical treated case. First aid, you are expecting the person to resume immediately. For medical treated case, the person can go home and come back the next day. For work with select cases, the person will come back the next day, but will do something else. Then we have what we call the LTA, or days away from work. LTA is lost time accidents. Some people call it days away from work. That is the point where the person cannot resume to work even after the 24 hours. Then we have what we call the fatality, which is death. So the person suffered that injury and the person did not recover and he died as a result of the injury, either instantly or later on in the hospital. Next slide, please. How to report? That is basically the card I told you about. Please Google, come up with the incident reporting card and you'll be fine. Next slide, please. Why do we investigate accidents? Basically, because we want to find out about the root cause. We want to determine the facts and we don't want to blame people. So it's not a time for playing the blame game. Again, we want to prevent a reoccurrence of that same or similar incident. And finally, we want to cascade the lessons. We want to have the alert, we want to share the safety alert with the lessons learned, so every other person can learn from that. So what goes into that lesson learned, actually the facts of the incident, the basic and root causes of the incident, and the additional control safeguards or control measures that we plan to implement to prevent a future occurrence. Okay, next slide. Can we just go to the next slide? You can always read this up. Okay, so can we go on, say 10 minutes break now? Then we come back to look at this. 10 minutes break. If you have any question, you can start typing those questions in the chat room, using the chat box. All right. Okay, so at 6:10, we're going to reconvene. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Is anybody there? I can't hear anything. No?
Yes, we are on 10 minutes break. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. I just stepped out for a minute.
Okay, so we are reconvening at 6:10.
Okay, inshallah. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Are we back now, please? Okay, I think it was back. Okay, so can we continue?
Yes. We can continue, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you.
We're here.
Baraka, please, can you help me with the slides again? One minute, I can't actually see the.
Sir, can
I
you see
can't
the
see the
slide?
slides. No, I'm trying to check this with my hand. Okay, I can see it now. Okay, thank you.
All right, sir.
Okay, so asset integrity management, and this is just an introduction to the risk management part. We're looking at this and we're saying that can we have the PDCA cycle? That's the plan, do, check, and act. So can we have this cycle? Meaning that as facility managers, can we identify and create the safety barriers that we need? Most times, if it's around equipment, the equipment would have been designed for something at a specific speed or at a specific output. Can we identify and know what it is? Let me say this in another way. If you want to cool a room, do you know, or have you taken time to understand, okay, the number and capacity of the air conditioning system that you need, so you can have something that is effective? Because if the ACs are insufficient, or let me use the word, if the ACs cannot remove the amount of heat that is being generated within that space, so whether by the fabric, by the people based on their activities, whether by even the equipment that are working in that space. If it's an office space, of course, your printer, your laptop, your computers, also generate heat. People's activities generate heat. The kind of fabric that we use, even the kind and size of window that is available in that space, all these things account for the heat that will accumulate in that room. And so if you are then looking at the number of air conditioners that you will recommend or put to use in that space, you need to factor in all these things and say, okay, so I think when we have maybe 2 horsepower, maybe 2 units of 2 numbers of 2 horsepower units will be fine. That depends on what you have seen. Otherwise, the ACs will be breaking down frequently because they don't have the capacity to extract or remove the amount of heat present in that space. And people, the occupants of that space, will also be complaining. They will not be satisfied. Again, if you've done an over design, so if the size of the AC you've recommended or you're using in that space is way, way, way too big for the amount of heat that will be removed, you can just use the temperature control to ensure that, okay, you reduce this to what you need by increasing the temperature of the AC. So you need to identify and create the safety barrier. You need to know what you need for that, hazard, or for the hazard that is actually present in that space. Then you need to work within the design envelope, meaning that you need to ensure that you don't bypass or override anything around that equipment. Then you need to maintain that equipment. That's where maintenance comes into play, whether it is preventive maintenance or predictive maintenance. We don't really advise you to be an advocate of the reactive maintenance, or the corrective maintenance when there's breakdown. No. So you need to be able to know when you're supposed to, ensure that this equipment is, or the equipment is maintained, or those equipment are maintained, so that you can have something working optimally. Then, if there are issues or areas where you need to reinforce or improve, you need to then implement those improvement recommendations so that you can have a safe workplace. This is applicable to everything around health and safety. Identify the safety measures, meaning that you need to know the safety measures that you need to put in place. You then need to put those safety measures in place around them and make them work. You then need to maintain those safety measures. There will always be wear and tear. The safety measure could even be training. So when you train people, so you identify that people need some knowledge, some level of awareness around a particular topic, you create the training content. It could be original to you, it could be something that you copied elsewhere, and you implement by training these people. But you also know that over time, people tend to forget. Then you need to have what we call refresher training, and retrain them, bringing the issues to the forefront burner, to the forefront again, and reminding them of their responsibilities. Then when you know that, or when you see that, oh, some things are not working, you need to be flexible enough to update and upgrade. To update your knowledge, upgrade the equipment. Then you come back to train them again, and you keep training until we feel that they have adequate knowledge and they can move to the advanced level. Trainees should never stop. Next slide, please. So I've used training just as an example. That's not the only thing we can create using the safety barrier. It could even mean your PPE, the PPE you supply to them. So you need to identify the right PPEs. So you plan to get those PPEs. Then you do. What are you doing? You are buying those PPEs and you are sharing to them. And you check if they are using the PPEs correctly. That's the personal protective equipment. They're using them correctly, and what condition those PPEs are after some period of time. So the safety boot, is it worn? Does it need to be replaced? If yes, implement. That's act. You change those boots, and if you have issues around the timing, you think, oh, the boot should last longer. Again, look at the operations and look at the kind of boot you've selected, and try and see if you've selected the right safety boot. And you change, and you keep that in cycle. So it's called Deming cycle, the PDCA. You keep planning, doing, checking, and acting. Plan, do, check, act, PDCA. You keep doing that over time and over time, and you keep improving the system. As a safety champion or representative, what do you need to do? These things have been created in bullet points. Develop the safety risk register. That means you need to identify the hazards in the workplace and have them documented. If there are legal requirements or regulations around your own industry, please ensure you identify the legal requirements and you document them. Then create a safety case. That means that for the hazards that you have identified, can you please run a full pathway? Or let me say it another way. Can you please look at those hazards and how those hazards can actually come up? So the source or ways the hazard can actually manifest. What is the likelihood? What is the severity? By that, you then have the probability of occurrence, of the probability of the risks and the severity coming together. And that's what we call the risk assessment. Then you then create safeguards or mitigation controls. take credit for things that are existing. When I say take credit, I mean, if you have some things that you are doing that are working, please list them. Then those things that you think you should add, additional things, write them out. Then monitor what you are doing. There could still be loss of control, meaning that despite you doing all these things, there could still be accidents. Then what do you need to do? Emergency response. So you need to have an emergency response plan. That, okay, if you said you're going to employ a good and qualified driver, you're going to ensure that the vehicles are well maintained and in good shape. You're going to have what we call the journey management plan, the JMP, to ensure that the routes where these vehicles will pass are clearly identified, and the speed limit can even be installed on the vehicle, and what again, and even time restrictions that, okay, anything beyond 7 or 8 p.m., the driver should park in a safe place, maybe lodge in an hotel or go to the nearest facility if you guys are actually in different states. So go to the nearest facility or just stop the travel, sleep in an hotel, things like that. Despite all this, with the security situation in the country, things can still go wrong. Despite all the controls we put in place, with the number of mad people driving on Lagos Road, things can still go wrong. So you then need to have an emergency plan that if your own driver is careful, is driving defensively, but still got involved in an accident, what do we need to do? We need to evacuate the victim to the hospital. So do you want to have an ATMO or retainership clinic, or you just have a blank check, any hospital you're gonna pay? Then the guy is being taken care of by competent medical personnel in the hospital. For the vehicle, you can or you must then do comprehensive insurance to say, okay, if this vehicle is involved in an accident, then insurance can actually cough out some money so that we can actually get a new vehicle or can repair the vehicle. So these are things that you need to know. You need to have the emergency course, the emergency center's number. So you need to have the number of the police, the fire station closest to you, and things like that. I tell people, I don't want you to call 112 or the 767 Lagos number. Not that it's not good for you to call them, but if you call 767 as we speak, you're actually calling Alausa, and they will have to take down your location and then help you to call the fire service station closest to you. So if your company is in Festac, so why don't you have a relationship with the fire service at Festac, such that when you have an issue, you can call that fire station directly, even if you are still going to call 767. Because it's about call out. But when you don't have a relationship, then you have to call the central number, and they will then help you call the closest station to you. In those cases, time is of essence. Same thing with having the DPO's number, or at least the number of the police station closest to you. You don't want to start calling Panti or calling Ikeja while there is an armed robbery situation ongoing in an area where you've got police presence. So you like to have a relationship with the security security posts or offices around you, so that you can just immediately just call the DPO to say, oh, there is a situation here, the bank close to our office is being robbed, and we need, and those guys will actually come straight to the scene. And because you guys have a relationship, so when I say relationship, I mean, have you actually paid a visit to the fire service station closest to you? Have you introduced yourself? Have you gone there to network? You have his call card, you have his number, he's got yours. And I'm not talking about money here. Please don't misquote me. So it's about relationship, so that you can address this for your safety case. As an organization, you need to have a certain level of safety for all rigs. You know all this, the hazard exists in every organization. So you need to have a level where you accept the risks. For instance, some companies in manufacturing, they've switched to gas-driven forklifts, and some are still using diesel-driven forklifts because yes, diesel is less volatile compared to petrol, but in terms of carbon emission, this is not your friend because it's CO emission. So, but if that is what, as a company, you can afford and you accept that risk, then let it be and let that be communicated. So people, they can then know that, okay, what is the integrity control that you have in terms of servicing of the forklift so that they don't get smoky, in terms of daily inspection of the forklift or even per shift inspection, as well as when you're working in the warehouse as the warehouse facility manager, your forklift is speed, the protective equipment on the forklift, even though it's diesel driven, but you can still have control such that you don't have smoky, a smoke that's actually emitting dark smoke or black soot directly from the exhaust, So you can have acceptable level of safety control. In a place where you should use a scaffold, please don't use ladder. Let that level of acceptability be communicated and people know what to do. Then internal safety evaluation. You have this thing in place. How are you checking internally that people are complying? Among your workers, do you have safety champions? You are the facility manager, good. But among your different teams, so you've got the maybe the water treatment guys, you've got the generator guys, you've got maybe the security guys are even working under your department. I don't know. But do you even have safety champions? Do you have people among them that are responsible to enforce? I'm not talking of police kind of activity here where you try to enforce people wear your safety boots. I'm talking of where people just take up the more or less safety supervisory or safety enhancement role, not safety policing role. So the internal safety evaluation program, you have a system where you can't then say yes. I want to check. I want to inspect. You have people that go to offices to inspect maybe the things that they use there, even flying cables, just hazard in the workplace generally. Also the suggestions that people are giving to you. Do you even have a means of collecting feedback in terms of health and safety? One way is to have a safety feedback box. Another way is to intensify the use of hazard identification and reporting forms, either electronically through the use of Google Form or system where you determine before those activities are carried out, even for apologies. I think when I started following here and network is getting bad. So even for routine operations, you still need to have what we call the SOP, the standard operating procedures for routine operation. They use the JHA and permit to work for non-routine operation. Take routine operation as something that is part of the daily work and something that is less hazardous. Take non-routine operation as something that is specialized, something that you may actually need to bring in contractors, or something that you don't do every day. If you don't do something every day, even though it is your in-house staff that's going to carry that operation out, you need to still have, a permit to work, and you need to analyze the hazards correctly, for you to have a safe outing. Next slide, please. Okay, so we said safety must be as low as reasonably practicable and as low as reasonably achievable. So you need to look at the probability of occurrence. You rate that between 1 and 5, and the severity of occurrence, you rate that between 1 and 5 too. So if it is least possible, but if it occurs, it is, highly serious or dangerous, then you need to take a look at it. It's a medium risk. You need to take a look at it. So frequency of occurrence, how often can this thing happen? Somebody falling down from the staircase, how often can it happen? I can tell you that it can happen very often. Then if the person is where if the person falls down, what will then happen? Maybe a broken arm. So that means that it's something that happens frequently, and the severity can be a 3. So before you know, something as simple as climbing the staircase can be a serious safety issue. So if you live in a place where, or you work in a place where you've got staircase and everything, of course, use of handrail, the kind of floor on that staircase, the frequency of cleanliness, having clear pathway and no wet floor on the staircase, the kind of footwear that people will wear to work, so when they're climbing the staircase, they don't fall. The kind of awareness around not using a mobile device or devices while climbing the staircase should be there. The illumination around the staircase should be bright. There are things you then need to do. We're just talking about staircase, step, staircase. But people can fall off the staircase and be absent for work for 1 month. Just staircase. So you need to have the controls in place. But because we use the staircase every day, do we then go and have permit to work to climb the staircase? No. So that use of staircase has then become a routine work. Same way if you are working in the oil and gas industry, or even in a facility where you have maybe storage tank, and you need to climb the tank every day, whether to take the stock or whether to dip. You are taking stock whether by dipping, using the dipstick, or just trying to check the gauge and what have you. If it has become an everyday activity, then you need what we call an SOP, or what we call a procedure. So safe operating procedure or standard operating procedure. People then know it will then form part of their induction, part of what you speak or talk about during your toolbox, during your monthly safety meeting, and all those kind of outing. Then what we call the stop card, where you intervene immediately when you see somebody pressing his phone on the staircase, not using the handrail. You caution the person immediately. When not just reporting the person, but you caution. When you see people running on the staircase with a laptop, be sure that if they trip on the staircase, they will try to save the laptop and not themselves. And before you know it, they can actually fall off and have loss of laptop and broken arm at the same time. So how probable that incident or hazard can result in an incident, and the severity of that incident when it occurs, should then guide you to speak to risk acceptability. So in risk management, you can actually transfer the risks by ensuring or by contracting a specialist to carry out that job for you guys. You can accept that risk and have procedures in place to manage the risks. You can mitigate that risk by deploying tools, technique, material, and methods to bring down that risk from maybe high to something that is low or medium. So we need to understand that risk management is part of what we need to do as facility managers. Next slide, please. Okay, we've spoken about this before. So next slide. Okay, so I'll just use this as a case study. Then I will skip a lot of slides because they're just pictures that you can relate with. Okay, so this pipe is about to be lifted into the tank. A hole has been created, and we are even using 2 cranes just to assure safety. You can zoom out on your screen and check this properly. There is a scaffold that has been erected. People are standing on that scaffold when this lift operation is about to take place. What is the risk? There is a probability that despite using these 2 cranes, that the pipe can actually fall on the scaffold. And if the pipe should fall on the scaffold will fall off, and people standing on this scaffold will what? Will also be injured. So what can we do? Maybe we should have mounted a different scaffold that people can stand on top and not the one that is directly underneath the pipe. Maybe we should have gotten a cherry picker where people can actually stand, like just like a scissors lift or an area lift, a MUP system. So people can actually stand and they can observe this lift from an independently standing equipment. Or maybe people don't need to just be here. And we can install maybe a camera, CCTV camera around this area, and we're in the control room with our radio, and the operators of this forklift will also have the radio on while we try to use technology, CCTV, to monitor the lift, and we tell them, oh, stop, oh, push forward, boom inward, things like that. Okay, but this is what this guy decided to do. Fantastic. Next slide, please. Oh, our fear materialized. That lift operation actually failed. The pipe actually fell on the scaffold. And if you zoom in again, you can see people scrambling for safety, people holding on for their lives. Yes, you can see people holding on. These people are falling off. Okay, next slide. Let me show you the result. Oh my goodness. This guy was on that scaffold. And you can see that he's going. I can't confirm if he actually went to be with the Lord. I can't confirm, but he's on his way. He's on his way. Next slide, please. So as responsible facility managers, what do we need to do for other analysis? Most of us jump to this green part, which is around implementation. So we don't need to jump to implementation. There's something called the planning phase, where you actually look at what you want to do, try to select the right person that will do it. I mean, the right contractor, discuss the method that will be used to do this. And after agreeing on all this, that is when you will then give the guy the job. All right? That's planning phase. Then permitting phase. This planning phase is supposed to happen before the job is awarded, not on the day of the job. Then you move from planning to permitting. On the day of the job, you are then supposed to So on the day of the job, you're then supposed to issue permit to work for usually for non-routine job, and you assign supervisory roles for that job. Then that's so permitting and implementing at times happen the same day. So after they've gotten all the permits, you've done the job safety analysis, then you can then implement by, ensure that those guys go to field and they think incident-free. We call it think incident-free. They believe zero accident is possible, and they do everything humanly possible to achieve zero accidents. They use their permit to work appropriately. They use the right tools. They comply with the procedures. They have their mind. Remember when I was talking about operational health, we spoke about the not just the absence of disease or infirmity, but also the presence of mind. Your mindset, your mental health, is very key. Remember when we were talking about operational health earlier today, we spoke about social well-being. The person must be someone that talks, not someone that not the sadist, because he may need to speak up. He may see something and he wants to say it. If it is a person that's that's not socially well, he will keep quiet and he won't say anything till things actually go wrong. So planning phase, you do what we call the LPP, loss prevention plan. You go to the site, you show the tax to the person understands the tax, and is willing to do it, and it quotes appropriately using the right tools. If it is a big job, and in fact you are not available, or it's not a place where you can actually bring in people to start looking, then we can do what we call the RFP, request for proposal, where you describe the job to be done within the proposal. So the person that is then quoting have an holistic idea of what he wants to do, and he does that perfectly. Then you permit and you implement. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think I explained this. So when do you need to do it? During the planning phase of the work. You are still planning to do the work. JSA, job safety analysis, when do you plan to do it? Immediately before the job. Then think incident free. It's anytime. We need to think incident free all the time. Maybe we should change that to every time, as against any time. But if you are, maybe you are for nobody and you are for everybody. So you need to ensure that safety is for nobody and safety is for everybody. Meaning that there is no favoritism. If the MD does not wear the right safety equipment, please don't allow him. I've done that although I was younger, and I stopped the MD of a company from going to my site when I was in Wando. That should be sometimes 2012, and that was 9 years ago. And I stopped him from doing that, and everybody there was shocked, because who dare stop Mr. Shegun? And I also know I'm very sorry. He was wearing a very fancy pair of shoes. I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, sir. Without the safety boot, you can't go in. And they were tapping me, say, Kolako, you don't know this person. He's the MD of, I'll mention the company, because the company is now a big company now. So I said, no, I can't allow this go on. It can't go in. So those are the things that we need to do, as facility managers. You are for nobody and you are for everybody. Okay. Again, we need to think incident free. Next slide, please. Okay. So you can read this up for the JSA. These are the things you need to do. So initially I called it 7 main steps, but we then needed to add controls. That I was saying, you take credit, for what is existing. All these things are compulsory. Next slide, please. I'm running against time, sorry. So this is a sample of the JHA format. The CPE means collective protective equipment. CPE. To the right-hand side, top, not really top corner, but you can just see it around the right. So CPE is collective protective equipment, e.g. safety catch nets, e.g. fire extinguisher. These are, why is it use the word collective? Means that when accident or incident happen, that equipment can serve a general purpose. All right. Your lockout tag out, your lotto kit is a collective PPE. It's not meant to protect just one person. It's meant to protect the entire process, all the people that are there. You know, so CPE, e.g. lotto kit, e.g. fire extinguisher, e.g. your first aid box, what again? Collective equipment, safety catch nets for water tight. No, they are good. The PPE, that are personal to individual. That person must wear it. If he doesn't wear it, he's exposed. Your helmet, your hand gloves, your coverall, your reflective jacket, your high goggle, your ear plug or ear muff, your nose mask or nose cover, your safety boots. What again have I mentioned? If you are walking close to water bodies, then maybe your life jacket. You know, these are PPEs that are meant to protect just one single person. Next slide, please. Okay, so I've said something around this 10. I said I call this energy hazard by energy source. And when we're explaining hazard, I think I mentioned a few among these things. So motion, mechanical, electrical pressure, I've explained those four. Gravity means something hanging or dangling at height. So maybe there is a lift operation. Sound, of course, means noise. Radiation from your X-ray and other radiation sources. Biological, including bacteria and rodent, things that can actually either help the spread of disease, biological disease in the workplace. Chemical hazard, of course, I've mentioned SDS, that's safety data sheets. And the temperature, which could be too much of coldness or hotness. So if the place is too hot or too cold, so depending on where you're working, if you're working in the foundry, where you're melting melters, it's going to be too hot, you know. And if you're working in a place where we need to on the AC, maybe you're working in the cold room, then it could be too cold. So for us as FM, what we want to achieve is that the workplace is not too hot, not too cold. So there must be temperature control around the equipment. Next slide. So you're gonna skip. So please, you're gonna skip all this. People can read up. It's explained with pictorial diagram. Hold on one bit here. I've explained this to us, hierarchy of controls, and I did mention under that engineering number 3, I split that into 2 to say engineering control by isolation and engineering control by guarding. So please take note of that under the hierarchy of control. And I added discipline to your code of business conduct that people may need to be, there may be a need for carrot and stick approach. They may need to be flogged for not, or caned for not doing the right thing after all other things have been, other methods have been tried. Okay, continue, please. We need to skip all these pictures. Don't worry, we can all read up. The picture and the explanation are out there. Can you see? So I don't need to. So these guys can actually fall into the water. That's what it's showing. This vehicle is on an hydraulic jack. So most of us, we use hydraulic, oh my God, we use hydraulic jack, you know, especially when we want to change our tires and everything. Or we go to a mechanic workshop and we see them do this. Please, hydraulic can fail. The jack can fail. So you raise the vehicle using hydraulic jack and you don't have a tripod, either a tripod stand or a log of wood, permit me to say that, you know, to wedge this. If the hydraulic jack should collapse and you are under this vehicle, I'm very sorry, the person will be crushed. So next slide, please. So just keep, so people can just read up all these parts, moving vehicles, e.g., so I don't need to explain all this to you. I believe you can understand all these pictures. Yeah, just keep moving so we can be fast. Yeah, electrical, exposed cables, can you see? Even for pressure, you see the cylinders. Can you see when your fire extinguisher? You can see the cylinder I was talking about, your water hoses, So this then asks you to identify, the energy source. Can you see? So that thing can fall down. That's why it's gravity. There is pressure around the cylinder. The cylinder can also fall because they are not chained. The rotating parts from the other guy, a lot of things. Temperature, can you see? That place is very cold. So your chiller room, if they are welding, it could be hot. Chemical, you could see the fumigation, 10 hours, the laboratory, Go on, please. You could see the insect, there could also be rodents. Yeah, can you see they've actually sting that guy? Radiation, okay. Can you see? Sound, so you can see your generator, the vehicle, the jackhammer, even the helicopter, very noisy. Okay, so you should identify again. These are just, just to make you. So hold on. Yeah, no, go a slide. No, go back. Go a slide back. Yeah, can you see this again? I said you should. Remember, you eliminate, you reduce or substitute, you isolate, you guard, you administer control, and you wear your PPE. Risk assessment, cost likelihood, times severity. Okay, go ahead, please. Office safety, so incidents around the office is usually around trip and sleep, sprain due to lifting operation, falling or dropped objects, of course, electrical. Go ahead, please. Next slide, let's show the pictures. Okay, so electrical safety, we know about all this. So people can actually trip, they can hit your leg against that open drawer, the floor can be cracked or broken and you can trip and fall. Next slide, please. So can you see all this? I know this is familiar. It's a familiar sight. Can you see? We can't afford to have this in the workplace. This will lead to fire. It will fire incidents. All these electrical issues. Next, please. So be careful and be alert. Watch out for tripping hazard. Keep the workplace clear of clusters, especially paper files. Use the office equipment properly and don't overload. Move carefully and don't run no horseplay in the office. Good housekeeping and storage, and don't overload your electrical sockets. Next slide, please. Safe system of work. Okay, so we've spoken about this. These are around procedure that you need to implement to. This is a routine job. You can use the standard operating procedure, SOP. I've mentioned that. If there are no routine jobs, you can use your permit to work, your JSA, job safety analysis. You can actually go to the field to observe the hazard and see how the controls you've recommended are actually working. Then I've encouraged us to have an hazard identification plan or reporting system. Next slide, please. Okay. Worker heights, we all know about worker heights, working above 1.8 meters, 6 feet, generally is worker height. For some companies like ExxonMobil, it is even 1.5 meters, just 5 feet, you are working at. And so if you are standing on your table in ExxonMobil, you are working at height. Okay. Yeah. Next slide, please. Okay. So people actually use inappropriate tools or equipment to assess height. And this a US or what called the OSHA record to say that falls are the leading causes in the construction industry, not just construction, everywhere. People fall from heights, and that is key. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so you need to prevent falls by doing the following. You can eliminate the fall, eliminate the source, or you can arrest the fall by having either a personal protective equipment like your safety belt or your full body harness, which is personal, or you can have the safety catch net that I spoke about, safety net, which is collective PPE, collective PE, that's collective protective equipment. You can also, have the guardrail and things like this for you to protect yourself. Next slide, please. Okay. So go ask yourself these questions for you to then plan on how to prevent the fall. Where are the workers at risk of falling? Where would they take the shortcuts? Do we have at least 2 means of egress from an elevated height? Is there a emergency rescue? No. Plan. If somebody fall, what will you then do? I think I've mentioned that. And integrity of the place you are working, illumination, ventilation, integrity of even the scaffold or ladder that you're using, and things like that. Is there even people below that if there is any fall object, maybe the spanner fall from the technician's hand, is it going to hit someone standing or walking beneath? Then the person need to either stay clear of that area or use the right PPE. Next slide, please. We are almost rounding off. Okay, so you can have unprotected sides or open floors or walls. You need to watch out for those things also, and you need to take care of them. Okay, next slide. So can you see? Can you go back one slide? Go back 2 slides now. Go back again. I want to show you that you can zoom in. I want to show you that. No. Go a slide forward. I'll show you that green tag. Okay. By this scaffold, can you see that green tag? Yes. So that's an inspection tag. So if you have scaffold erected in your workplace, please, on a daily basis, the scaffold needs to be inspected. And on a weekly basis, the scaffold needs to be tagged. Because it's assumed that the work you want to do for that week, you already know. So an inspector, usually a trained scaffold erector, will come and sign that he has erected this scaffold. This scaffold can carry weight of up to, say, 1 ton or 500 kg, depending on what it is, or 6 kg, because the gauge, the thickness of the pipe also determines the overall weight that this scaffold can actually carry. Somebody can come to do that inspection and tag this appropriately. And this grain means that the scaffold is good to use. We can remove this and put a red to say, don't use this scaffold. Please, very important. Next slide. So it's 7 o'clock. Okay, this open floors is not acceptable. Please inspect your workplace and ensure that you do something about open floors. Next slide. I want us to, same thing, open floors, especially at the generator house. Your restraint, that's your fall arrest, please, is very important. Depending on where you're working, you should have the fall arrest system connected to the body harness. So fall arrest is different from body harness. So fall arrest, we actually sense that there is a fast movement and it will get stopped. Then you won't fall to the ground. So you can Google fall arrestor and you see what I'm saying. Next slide, please. So I think it's time up. Next slide. I want to show you something. Okay. Yeah, this, just wait here. So can you see a full body harness? One, this is what your guys should wear, not that waist body harness. That waist harness will break their waist when they fall. But this full body harness, personal fall arrest system, will ensure that nobody falls to the ground. Okay, next slide. I don't want to finish this walk at height. If you fall down, this is the height that you're going to travel. Your body, your body, the length of the body harness, and the distance from the floor. Very key. Okay, so let me allow us to ask questions at this point. Okay, so you can unmute yourself. Yeah, because it's time. So let me allow maybe 3-4 people to ask questions. I can call it a day. I saw somebody asking questions around fire safety. Okay, muster points. It should be the safest point at this time, usually away from your building, within the facility, so within the premises. But there could be fire incidents even from the muster point or at the muster point. So please, don't be rigid. You can always change your muster point. But as of now, you must identify a muster point, have the safety signage there, and people can go there when there is an incident, not just fire incident, even medical incident. You can evacuate the facility and people gather there. All right. Then I think you also asked the question around what fire, is it fire emergency? I've forgotten the question. Or you can please unmute yourself and ask questions. Or if you can raise up your hand, that would then make it more coordinated. Thank you. I'm here. Please, you can unmute yourself. Sorry, in the next 5 minutes, we can dismiss the class. Or we don't have any question? Yeah, Mr. Taufik, please go ahead. Mr. Taufik, away.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, thanks for the lecture. I have like 2 questions, and one is like just a discussion. The first question is, we are the facility manager doing all this, and when we have a department that's with HSC, when we are doing this for them, won't we be as if we want to collect their responsibility? And you think, have you ever worked in an organization whereby there is facilities, there is safety, and there's no like something like between safety and facility? Maybe somebody to prove it, this is my work, why would you be doing my work for me? I understand this kind of a thing I'm talking about.
Okay. So when I was safety manager at MBC, we did have facility and utility department. We have a facility manager who is also in charge of utilities. And so it is about collaboration. So the safety guys, we tried as much as possible to collaborate with the facility, because even it is the facility manager that we even help the HSC department to close their issues. So safety has gone beyond just reporting. If you report and those issues are not closed, then you've not done any work. So I'll just solicit that is for you guys to find a way to work together and see yourself as one. Nobody is trying to overtake or take over another person's responsibility. But if we work together, you know, they will enhance your own credibility, because the HSC guys will be able to help with even the hazard identification, and you will be able to track the closure and ensure that you get the contractors or whoever need to fix those issues. Do that as soon as possible. So I think what you need to work on is collaboration. How can you work together with these HSC guys and implement at least some of the things I've spoken about today? I think that is what is needed here. It's not about competition, but collaboration. Yeah.
Then if I'm not wrong, we are on slide 83 of 222. So can we solicit like another class, or how do you intend to cover, or the things in the other slides, we don't really need them?
Okay, so we're gonna have a class around fire safety and emergency response, where some of those things that we've not spoken about here we discuss. So if you check this slide, you can see things around fire safety. But we'll actually have a class where we actually deal with fire, you know. Then that class will be speaking to some of the things that will be useful for us. But we made this, so we gave you the entire document so that you can actually have a reference point, as against giving you maybe an 100-page document. So it's just about going the extra mile. That's why you have a voluminous course material. But the basic things you need to know, I think we've spoken about those things. Not to say you don't need to know the other ones, but you can always make reference to them. That's why you have the material that's voluminous. Thank you. But that material is not designed for this short class. That's for a whole day course. But we decided to just give the participant in this class as against just giving you a brief of that material. So it's just a plus for the class.
Okay, it's okay. It's okay like that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Please, we have just 2 more minutes. I can't see anyone's hand up. Should we assume that there are no questions, and we look forward to meet at another class? Okay. A minute left. Any question or clarification or contribution? Anything? Okay, if there is none, then can I hand over to my Oga at the top? Okay, so over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate you for this class. So, sir, if there's any other question from this class, it will be forwarded to you from us. We really appreciate your lecture. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, and do have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, all right, sir.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yeah. All right, good night.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Good night.
Bye.